Welcome to our deep dive. And this one is all about the future of farming and how we're going to feed a growing population without, wreaking havoc on the planet.
Yeah, it's a big one for sure.
It is. And you've given us a ton of sources for this deep dive. We've got TED Talks, reports from sustainability organizations, and interviews with actual agriculture experts.
Really interesting mix. It's going to be a fun challenge to synthesize all this.
Absolutely. Let's jump in.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first things first, the challenge we're facing, feeding 10 billion people by 2050.
Yeah, and not just feeding them, but doing it sustainably, which is, a whole other layer of complexity.
Definitely. And we've got climate change, resource depletion, the whole 9 yards to deal with.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape,
I like that analogy. It's so true.
It is. And what's interesting is this challenge of feeding everyone sustainably. It's not exactly a new problem. We've been grappling with this for centuries.
Yeah, think about the agricultural revolution. That was a huge turning point for humanity.
Exactly. And as Brent Loken mentioned in his TED Talk, we need another revolution, another leap forward to meet the demands of the future.
So how do we do that? What are the solutions?
Well, there's no single answer. It's a multifaceted challenge. But one thing that keeps popping up in the sources is technology.
Oh, yeah. Technology is everywhere these days, and it's definitely shaking things up in the agriculture world.
For sure. We've got AI-powered drones that can monitor crops like a hawkeye.
Right, and sensors in the soil that can tell farmers exactly what nutrients are needed.
It's incredible how technology allows us to gather and respond to information in real time.
It's like giving the fields a voice. They can tell us exactly what they need.
Exactly. But it's important to remember technology is not a silver bullet.
Of course not. There's always a flip side.
Right. We need to consider things like access and affordability. Will these tools be available to farmers all over the world, or will they just widen the gap between the haves and have-nots?
That's such a crucial point. It's like we see in other fields as well. Technology can be both incredibly helpful and potentially create new problems if we're not careful about how we use it.
Absolutely.
Okay. And speaking of technology, one of the sources mentioned 3D printed food. Have you heard about this?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty wild. Imagine printing out a steak or a pizza on demand.
It sounds like science fiction.
It does, but it could be a reality in the not-so-distant future.
But is it sustainable? What are the implications for traditional food production and cultural traditions?
Those are questions we need to explore, and there are no easy answers.
So it's clear that technology has a huge role to play, but it's not as simple as just throwing gadgets at the problem.
Nope. We need to be thoughtful about how we integrate technology into our food systems.
And maybe we can learn from places that are already doing amazing things in sustainable agriculture.
Like the Netherlands, for example. One of the sources highlighted them as a global leader in efficient and sustainable farming.
Yeah, the Netherlands, they're like a farming superpower, producing tons of food with minimal resources.
It's true. They can grow 80 kilograms of tomatoes per square meter in their high-tech greenhouses.
Wow, 80 kilograms. That's incredible. And they use 4 times less water than traditional farming methods.
And it's not just tomatoes. They lead the world in yields for various crops, peppers, cucumbers, potatoes, onions, you name it.
So how did they pull it off? Is there some secret sauce?
Well, there's no magic formula, but collaboration is key.
Collaboration.
Yeah. In the Netherlands, you see strong partnerships between the government, research institutions, and the agriculture industry. They're all working together towards this shared goal of sustainable food production.
So it's not just about having the latest tech. It's about creating an environment where innovation can flourish.
Exactly. And they're not afraid to experiment. They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Speaking of innovation, they've got AI-controlled climate systems in those greenhouses and even moth-killing drones.
It's amazing how they're integrating technology to optimize every aspect of the growing process.
But could this type of high-tech, hyper-efficient farming work everywhere?
That's a great question, and it's one we need to explore further.
Right, because what works in one place might not work in another?
Exactly. Every country faces its own unique challenges and opportunities.
So we've got cutting-edge techs, impressive models of efficiency, a planet full of hungry mouths to feed. Where do we go from here?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's what we'll dive into on the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned, folks. This is just the beginning.
Welcome back to our deep dive. It's awesome to see you're so interested in finding ways to make a real difference in this challenge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground already, right from those high-tech solutions to the Netherlands. And their model is pretty amazing, but it can feel a little overwhelming.
I get that it's a lot to take in.
So where do we even start as individuals? I mean, what are some tangible things we can do to make an impact?
Well, one of the most impactful things we can do is literally write on our plates food waste.
Food waste.
Yeah, it's a huge problem globally.
I've heard that, but I don't really get how big of a deal it is.
Well, one of the reports we have here says that almost a third of all the food produced in the entire world ends up in the trash.
Whoa, a third? That's insane.
It is, and it's a colossal waste of resources. Think about all the land, water, and energy that goes into producing food that never even gets eaten.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what can we do about it at home?
It can be as simple as planning meals in advance, being creative with leftovers, and storing food properly.
Yeah. Okay, those are good tips.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? Like corporate consolidation and the influence of big agriculture? Those feel kind of out of our control.
They do, but our choices as consumers actually have a lot of power,
Really? How so?
Supporting local farmers, choosing organic and sustainably produced food, it all sends a message to the market.
Right, voting with our dollars.
Exactly. And there's even an app mentioned in one of these articles called Eternity that lets you scan barcodes at the grocery store and see the carbon footprint of different products.
Whoa, seriously. That's so cool. Imagine having that kind of information right there in your hand.
I know, it's awesome. Transparency that empowers consumers to make informed decisions.
For sure. So we're reducing waste, becoming more conscious consumers. What else can we do to support a more sustainable future for food?
Well, shifting our diets is another big one.
Like going vegan?
That's one way. But even just incorporating more plant-based meals into your week can make a difference,
Like meatless Mondays.
Exactly. Or maybe just try out some new recipes where veggies are the star of the show.
I'm all about exploring new recipes. And actually, one of the sources talked about the diversity of diets around the world and how we can learn from traditional food systems.
That's so important, and it ties into another key aspect of sustainable agriculture, working with nature, not against it.
You're talking about agroecology.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about push-pull farming and the system of rice intensification. Those seem like good examples.
Agroecology focuses on building healthy soil, conserving water, promoting biodiversity. It's a holistic approach.
And it's not just about the environment, right? Supporting agroecology also means supporting local farmers and building strong communities.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all solution to farming. Different regions need different approaches.
So how can we support agroecology in our own communities?
Check out your local farmers markets or join a CSA community-supported agriculture program. It's a great way to connect directly with the people growing your food.
I love that idea. So we've got all these solutions, but, there's still this sense of urgency, like we're running out of time to get things right.
I feel that too. But remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
It's easy to feel powerless, but it sounds like we actually have more power than we realize.
Exactly. Our individual choices, the conversations we have, they all contribute to a larger movement.
I mean, one of the sources talked about the power of our vote, too. Not just with our wallets, but at the ballot box.
Absolutely. We need to hold our elected officials accountable and advocate for policies that support sustainable agriculture.
Okay, so it's not just about what we eat. It's about how we engage with the system as a whole.
Exactly. It's a multifaceted approach. We need individual action policy changes, shifts in consumer demand.
And let's not forget about the importance of research and innovation.
Right. We need scientists working on new solutions all the time.
Like those 3D printed steaks and AI-powered farms, but remembering to be ethical and make sure those innovations benefit everyone.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between cutting-edge technology and time-tested wisdom.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about, and I'm definitely feeling inspired to take action.
That's awesome. And remember, even sharing what you've learned with others can make a difference. Start conversations. Spread the word.
So what you're saying is, we need to keep learning, keep talking, and keep pushing for change.
Absolutely. The future of food is in our hands.
Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle those roadblocks head on. Those obstacles that might slow us down on the road to a more sustainable food future.
Yeah, those bumps in the road.
Exactly. What are some of the biggest ones we might face?
Well, one of the most significant challenges is just the sheer scale of the transformation we need.
Right. We're not talking about little tweaks here. We're talking about like a complete overhaul.
Exactly. It's a massive undertaking and it can feel daunting.
It's like trying to turn a giant ship around. Where do we even begin?
Well, it starts with acknowledging the complexity of the problem.
Yeah.
There's no single solution that's going to work everywhere.
Of course, not every region, every country has its own unique set of challenges and opportunities.
Exactly. We need a diverse set of approaches tailored to those specific contexts.
So diversity is key. Got it. But how do we get everyone on board? There's so many different stakeholders in our food systems: farmers, scientists, policymakers, businesses, consumers.
You're right, it's a whole ecosystem, and collaboration is crucial.
Collaboration.
Yeah, we need to build bridges, foster open communication between all those different groups.
It's like we all need to be rowing in the same direction.
Exactly, and one of the sources highlighted the importance of engaging consumers, helping them understand how their choices impact the system.
That makes sense, but how do we reach those people who aren't already, tuned into the sustainability conversation?
That's a great question, and it's not always easy. We need to find creative ways to make sustainable agriculture relevant to people's everyday lives.
Right. It can't just be about, preaching the environmental benefits.
Exactly. We need to connect it to things people care about, like their health, their wallets, their communities.
It's about making those connections clear, showing people why this matters to them personally.
Right. And maybe we need to find ways to make sustainable farming just as exciting and attention-grabbing as, some of those high-tech solutions we talked about earlier.
Like those moth-killing drones in the Netherlands.
Yeah, exactly. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
We need to harness that same energy and creativity to engage a wider audience.
So we're building bridges, engaging consumers, highlighting the relevance of sustainable agriculture. What other potential roadblocks should we watch out for?
Well, another big one is overcoming the inertia of existing systems.
Yeah, the classic, this is how we've always done it mentality.
Exactly. There are powerful economic and political interests that benefit from the status quo, and they might resist change that threatens their position.
That's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
How do we break through that resistance?
It takes a multi-pronged approach. Education, advocacy, policy changes.
Okay, break it down for me.
Well, first, we need to clearly demonstrate the economic and social benefits of sustainable agriculture,
Right. Show people that it's not just good for the planet, but good for their bottom line, too.
Exactly. And then we need to build strong coalitions to advocate for change, bring together diverse voices to push for a more sustainable future.
And, of course, we can't forget about policy.
Right. We need to push for policies that incentivize sustainable practices and level the playing field.
One of the reports we have really digs into the issue of corporate consolidation and the influence of big agriculture. How do we ensure that this transition to a more sustainable food system benefits everyone, not just a select few?
That's crucial. We need to promote transparency, accountability, and fair market practices,
Right. Make sure that everyone has a seat at the table.
Exactly. Support small-scale farmers, strengthen local and regional food systems, advocate for policies that protect both farmers and consumers.
It sounds like a David versus Goliath battle sometimes.
It can feel that way, but remember, history is full of examples where seemingly impossible changes were achieved through persistent collective action.
That's encouraging.
Oh.
So what gives you hope for the future of farming? What are some signs that we're moving in the right direction?
Well, I'm inspired by the growing consumer demand for sustainably produced food. People are voting with their wallets, and that's sending a powerful message.
That's awesome. And what about innovations? Are there any bright spots on that front?
Absolutely. There's incredible stuff happening all over the world. Vertical farms in urban centers, regenerative grazing techniques on ranches. People are finding creative solutions and proving that change is possible.
That's amazing to hear. We talked about the Netherlands and their success, but are there other countries leading the way that we can learn from?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Costa Rica has done amazing work in restoring forest cover by integrating farmland with natural habitats. Zambia is investing in locally specific methods to improve crop production and reduce deforestation.
Wow, it sounds like we're witnessing a food revolution in action.
It really does feel that way.
So what can each of us do to be a part of this movement? How can we contribute to a truly sustainable food future?
Stay informed, engage in conversations, make conscious choices in your daily life.
Give me some specifics.
Support your local farmers, reduce food waste, advocate for policy changes, share what you've learned with your friends and family.
It's about taking action in our own lives and inspiring others to do the same.
Exactly. Every little bit counts.
One of the sources asked a question that really stuck with me. What trade-offs are we willing to make?
That's a powerful question, isn't it?
It is, are we willing to pay a bit more for sustainably produced food? Are we willing to adjust our diets to lessen our environmental impact?
These are choices we all need to grapple with, and there are no easy answers.
Right, but it's about having those conversations and making informed decisions.
Exactly. And being open to new ideas and new ways of doing things.
This deep dive has been such a journey exploring the challenges, the opportunities, and the power we all have to shape the future of food.
I agree. It's been an amazing conversation.
I'm feeling informed, inspired, and ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work.
That's the spirit. And remember, you're not alone in this. There's a whole community of people working towards the same goal.
That's right. We're all in this together. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the future of farming. I hope you've enjoyed the journey and that you're leaving with a renewed sense of hope and a desire to be part of the solution. Remember, the future of food is in our hands, and it's time to get growing.